And when it came time for the pandemic and your PPP loans, my bank fumbled hard 9 times in a row, fat fingered my address, fat fingered my EIN. And I finally said, I'm done with you guys. I'm just going to go out of business.
When is it time to actually build your production company, make it a legal LLC?
And grow beyond just yourself as a videographer?
Yep. There's a couple advantages to switching over from a sole proprietor to having an LLC, in my opinion, is the first place where you want to be when you actually have a business. First is it's a liability protection. If someone sues, let's say you make ABC LLC, and something happens with ABC LLC and it gets sued, they can't come after your personal wealth. So if ABC LLC only has $100,000, that's the max that anybody can get if you get sued. So that's really helpful to protect your liability. And it also becomes its own tax entity. So no longer are you going to be filing your taxes under your social security number. You're going to be filing under a FEIN, which is a federal identification number. And that's how everything is tracked. When you start spending money, you can write it off. When you have an LLC, you can write off your phone bill. If you have a portion of your house that you use as your office, you can write that off. Once again, we're not tax accountants, so talk to your tax accountant about
write
this.
off. Did you say car already? You can write off mileage. If you have a car that's over a certain weight, I know one of our video producer friends bought a Hummer because it surpassed a certain gross weight that then classified as a complete write-off. So this is where an accountant really comes in to help you keep your money and spend it in more fun ways than just giving it to Uncle Sam.
Yeah, so for instance, every year we try to show that we made no money when it comes to taxes. So December, if we've had a good year, is when we buy gear, because the less we can show as revenue on our books means the less we're going to pay taxes wise. That's just the reality of owning a small business. But the less that we have to spend to the government, in my opinion, is the best.
There's different types of LLCs. I know when I switched from a sole proprietor to an S Corp, my taxes liability went down considerably, but you have to be making a certain amount of money for that to work. So talk to your tax professional and make sure you're classified in the most opportune way.
We'll do some rapid fire bullet points on how to be legit. So there's something called the North American Industry Classification System. This is just how you're classified. We are classified as a video production company. There's a classification for a photographer. You'll need this for insurance. You'll need this for taxes. Find the right one that works for you.
You'll also need it if you ever want to get a business loan. There's a Duns and Bradstreet number. It's basically your credit score for your business. You'll need to have all these numbers correctly entered into your business files, because if you're operating in the wrong space, again, you can be penalized for it. I have a friend who owns a design agency that does video, and he was getting the sales tax credit in Utah. If you were a film production company in Utah, you can get equipment tax-free, sales tax, and he was leveraging that benefit. But when it came time to file, or he got audited, they noticed that he had the wrong NI something CS code, and he had to pay $80,000 in taxes. Make sure you file that one correctly.
You need to register with the federal government. You need to register with the state, and you'll get a state registration number. Like Greg mentioned, if you're a film production company, you can get a tax exemption for any gear purchased, which is great. It makes camera gear 7.5.
That includes computers too, so you can go to the Apple store and be
Then on a local level, in whatever state or whatever city you live in, and this is based off the address your business is registered. So if you are registering your business at your home, then it's your home address. If you have a location somewhere, it's there. You'll need to get a local city business license. These are yearly fees you have to pay, with the exception of the federal government. You pay that in your taxes. But every year you have to go, you have to re-register. It's the state's something like $26 every year, and I pay the city of Salt Lake City something like $150 every year, and then I have to pay for every employee I have. Everyone collects their tax money from somewhere.
Story time. I had my company for 5 years. We applied for an FFL, which is a federal firearms license, because we were doing firearm ads for Clock. And they were sending us unreleased new prototypes to film. And they'd go to a gun store, and the gun store employees would be like, holy cow, look at this new gun they did. And then the cat was out of the bag, so they had to ship us firearms. So I applied for an FFL, and they're like, oh yeah, everything's all set. Meeting with the ATF, super fun. Just need a copy of your business license, and you're good to go. And I'll get one of those.
Get an address or a P.O. box somewhere. I always suggest to not use your home address, because this information is public. If somebody was to go into the Utah business registration, they could type in BW Productions, and if my home address was there, anybody could see where I live.
There's got to be some list that goes out because you get like a welcome to the neighborhood package from the post office with all these coupons, and then just everybody and their dog starts calling you.
I also highly suggest getting a business phone number before you do anything as a business. My cell phone number still gets spam calls all the time because I didn't do that right away. You can get a free Google number. It generates a number and then it calls you through an app, or you can forward it, but you will get so many telemarketer calls. Today, we have 3 phone numbers. We have one for Cutthroat, one for BW, one for Cinema Forte. I had the same guy that was trying to sell me cleaning services call all 3 numbers. If you don't want to get a bunch of calls to your cell phone, get a business number. There's like people that will identify it's already a spam call before it comes in.
And to file for an LLC, you need a document called Articles of Incorporation that basically just lists who is going to be owner and work with the LLC, how long that LLC is going to last. I white knuckled my way through it and it worked. That also brings up partnerships. I would advise against them as much as possible. It's like a marriage, and things always get weird over money. Luckily, marriage has love and attraction and other things to see that, but most divorces are because of money problems. I mean, there's infidelity and other stuff, but usually money's like the big one. And, if you don't have a business partner that you can put money aside and just be gung-ho for your business, that's great, but most of the time it's gonna go south. So try to offer other incentives if it's your business, if it's up to you ultimately, but just be very careful, because getting out of that business, you have to buy that person out. So you have to evaluate how much your company's worth and then be like, okay, our company's worth $200,000 and you own 40%. So that's going to be $60,000.
Yeah, I'll highlight again too, if it's just you and your buddies that are starting a film production company, be really careful on how you're doing that. One really easy way to get around that is you have one owner and then you do profit sharing. So as the company makes money, everybody can get money as the company grows, but then only one person is the owner. Get a website with an email. It's always better and more professional if you have an @company address versus if you have an email or like a Gmail or a Hotmail. You can get a Google Workplace email for $7 a month or something like that. And whenever I get an email from somebody, it always looks more professional if it's not an @Gmail. I also encourage you to use a professional slug. Don't use something like SoccerGirl24. All of my emails have been like B. Uberty. Really lame and boring, but it looks professional and people will look at that when they get emails from you.
If you're a film crew member and you have a Yahoo account, that's totally fine. But if you're a production company from out of town and you're like, we want to hire your crew, and you just, go ahead and email me back your price list of such and such at AOL, you're like, this probably isn't going to go anywhere.
Open a business bank account. It's always better to keep your business money separate than your personal money. It's really easy. You can go to any bank. I really like KeyBank. As a business customer, I have the branch manager's cell phone number. You just need 2 forms of ID, your article of incorporation, your business name registered with the state, and then your IRS EIN. This is helpful when you have a business account. You can get things like free checks, free ACH. One of the reasons I banked with Key back when I switched years ago, I used to be with Wells Fargo, is they said, hey, we'll give you all the business checks you ever need for free. And if you've ever ordered business checks, it's one of those things that's like abnormally expensive. Get like 1,000 checks, it was something like $580 or something. So when you can get those for free, it's just one more way to save money. I get our checks and our envelopes for free.
Having a good relationship with your bank is very important as well. I didn't think it mattered. I thought all banks were kind of the same. I did not like the bank I went with, but I was so pot committed to everything being tied to the bank, I couldn't change it. It was just too much work. And when it came time for the pandemic and your PPP loans, my bank fumbled hard 9 times in a row, fat fingered my address, fat fingered my EIN, and I finally said, I'm done with you guys. I'm just gonna go out of business. And then it got approved. I never signed anything. Don't know how that worked, but it worked. So anyway, having a good bank is great. You want to be able to call them in a time of need. If something went wrong, a weird charge went through, you need to have someone who's accessible and can help you out.
You always want to track your finances. Get a bookkeeping software. QuickBooks is the go-to. It's fairly cheap for an individual plan. Once you get to a certain size, get a bookkeeper. Getting a bookkeeper was one of the best things I ever did for my business, because I have somebody that is professional in finance that looks at our books every month, make sure things are getting categorized right. It means that my taxes are cheaper because I don't have to have my CPA go through and do a bunch of work. Get a bookkeeper that's going to review your stuff quarterly or monthly, and then making sure you know where you're at financially is really important. One of the things that I've seen the most failures from is people just don't know where their money is at and how far away they are from being able to shut down their business. So knowing where you're at money-wise and knowing, hey, I've got 3 months of runway or I've got 2 weeks of runway is really important.
Yeah, it's always nice to see all the money come in when you forget about all the money that needs to go out. I once paid I won't brag, it was a really big credit card bill that I just didn't think about, and all the money went away that I had, and I was like, oh, that sucked. So make sure that your bookkeeper gives a shit about your business.
So consider business credit. Once you have your business and it's been established, they have something called a line of credit. Line of credits are very low cost for you to have if you're not using it, but it's like a safety net that you can go and pull out. I think my first line of credit was like $50,000 and it cost me $150 a year to have, and it was always there if I ever needed it. When you get big enough, that's just part of doing business. I'm using my line of credit literally every day because I'm floating those payments that are 30 days late and I still need to pay all of my bills. Having that's helpful. It takes time. There's paperwork. You can't just get it overnight. Get it, have it. That way when you need it, you have it and you can pull from it really fast. Consider business credit cards too. For instance, if you are traveling a lot, get a Delta credit card. You'll get free luggage. It means that you are going to spend $50 less every time you travel, and when you have gear, that adds up.
Especially if you hit up those lounges.
Yep.